Hello, welcome back to another episode of CEDH Bling Builds. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Today I'm going to feature a fully optimized high power deck. So this is a deck tech for a fully optimized high power deck. By no stretch of the imagination is Ovika a CEDH deck because it just wouldn't stand a chance in that particular environment. And also in the link, in the description of this video, there's a link to two different decks. This incarnation of the deck, or the current incarnation of the deck, and a budget version of this deck, which I was able to keep under $200. Now, with that said, it comes with a caveat. Budget players, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to do everything you can, everything in your power to, you're going to have to sell your bulk uncommon trade binder plus the binder to get yourself a Cyclonic Rift, because that is a blue staple. But I never realized that right now in 2023 that's a $40 card. So it's definitely required. It's definitely a prerequisite for any blue deck. Now, Ovika, this will be a longer video, I feel, because this creature definitely appeals to like maybe newer players who want a very strong, very powerful deck within their means. But by no means, like I said, Ovika could really hang at a CEDH table. I don't think it could. But for sure, you could make the deck strong, or not as strong, and definitely get a ton of value, because that's what Ovika does. Ovika accrues a ton of value with her ability. Let's look at that ability really quick. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create X/1/1 goblins, where X is that spell is a CMC, and the goblins have haste. And so where this deck shines is playing really, really expensive non-creature spells, and we'll look at some of those in just a moment. A lot of comparison is made to the Locust God, and I don't think that's a fair comparison. Locust God is like, I don't know, I never cared about the Locust God. It never interested me. I think that you have to build a deck around actually drawing cards. If you can't draw cards for whatever reason, the whole strategy gets shut down. Ovika just gets value just by playing the game. Ovika gets to put in beats with her body, where Locust God, I think is like a 3/3 body or something. It's not that big, not that strong. And so both are outlets for Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal, but like so many legendary creatures are outlets for Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal. But anyway, enough rambling. Let's get into the deck. So you know how we do things on this channel. We have both arts, gotta have both arts. Okay, let's talk about ad nauseum at great length some of these combos, because like I said, this might be baby's first strong deck, and so you might not be familiar with some of these combos. And the first thing we have is Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal. Dramatic Reversal, if you didn't know, is a 1 and a blue instant that says untap all non-land permanents. Mana rocks, mana dorks will all untap when you play a Dramatic Reversal. Now, if you imprint that, imprint is that you pretty much slap it onto the Isochron Scepter, then the Isochron Scepter will have this ability where you pay 2 tap to copy the imprinted card, and you play a copy of that without paying its mana cost. In other words, you throw the Isochron Scepter you throw the Dramatic Reversal onto your Isochron Scepter, and if you're able to produce 3 mana with a combination of rocks and dorks, then you have net yourself a mana. 2 of those mana will pay for the ability. The 1 you net, now all the rocks and all the dorks, including the scepter, will untap, and then you rinse, wash, repeat, and you make yourself infinite mana. Hopefully some of that mana is mana of a color, but that's all there is to it. In the case of Ovika, you'll get benefit off of this, not by making the infinite mana, but making an infinite storm. So you don't necessarily need to have the 3 mana to make infinite mana. You just need the 2 mana to create infinite storm. You'll make infinite copies of Germanic Reversal. With the infinite copies of Germanic Reversal, you'll have your infinite goblins, and they will swing 4 game. Very, very simple. On the subject of making infinite storm, we'll have our Hullbreaker Horror / Tidespout Tyrant combo in the deck. Now, both this version and the budget version have these combos. These are easily accessible to anyone at any budget. Same thing with this. I think this is a little bit pricier. I think Isorev Scepter is maybe like a $12 card. I think. I'm not too sure. But all these combos are accessible to any player, any budget. Now, this combo, the Tyrant, Poly Tyrant combos, right, is very simple. You'll create infinite mana or infinite storm by having a rock on board, tapping that rock for the mana, use that mana to pay for a rock. That rock will ETB, and these guys will have the previous rock bounce back to the hand. And you use that new rock, tap it for mana, play the old rock, and it creates a little loop of just casting rocks. Best with mana positive rocks, very easy with mana positive rocks, fine with mana neutral rocks, because we're looking for that infinite storm, not so much infinite mana, but infinite storm. And with the infinite storm, once again, you'll be able to swing with infinite Phyrexian goblins for game. Now, this deck has Underworld Breach because I'm able to, I'm fortunate enough to be able to abuse the shit out of Underworld Breach. A budget deck shouldn't worry about Underworld Breach. I do have some interesting tech cards that are more budget friendly and make better use of a graveyard. But for me, I have ways to abuse the hell out of my graveyard because even if you have the Underworld Breach, if you're not able to close the game out the turn you play Underworld Breach, like if you're like a cute kid, right? And you're just playing an Underworld Breach for value, like it's not worth its slot. But if you have the Underworld Breach, you're most certainly going to close the game out. Then you're good to go. Of course, with Underworld Breach in these colors, it's really nice to pair it with a Brain Freeze. A Brain Freeze, another Storm card. We're not interested in using the Brain Freeze to as a win condition. We're primarily here to have the Brain Freeze feed our own graveyard to create fodder for our Underworld Breach. And then maybe we get lucky, we hit something juicy to really lengthen those lines. A cute piece of tech in this deck, we'll go into all the cute tech cards for Ovika, is Mystic Reflection. Mystic Reflection is a 1 and a blue instant, and you choose a non-legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planes, whatever, would ETB, they come in as copies of those creatures. Now, the timing is a little tricky because Ovika will be on board and you'll play the Mystic Reflection, but the Ovika will trigger. So you'll make 2 goblins, but then the next instant or sorcery, the next non-land creature, non-creature spell, the next Ovika trigger will make those goblins the designated creature. And so, you could play like a high CMC card, and then boom, you get like, I don't know, 5 copies of Eternal Witness or Dockside Extortionist or whatever juicy creature is on the board. Juicy non-legendary creature that's on the board. Another cool piece of tech available to Ovika. I like this card. I really, really love this card. Even outside of this deck, I'm like the only person that I know that plays this card all the time, at all. Exchange of Words. It is a 1 blue enchantment. When the Exchange of Words ETBs, it's not an aura, right? So when the Exchange of Words ETBs, You'll choose two target creatures, any target creatures, any legendary, non-legendary, it doesn't matter. For as long as the exchange of words is on board, the creatures exchange text boxes, and so Ovika will have the exchange of words will have Ovika's goblin turn into your, I don't know, Winota, and the Winota will turn into a vanilla goblin. Congratulations, you played yourself, right? So, very, very strong card. I really, really like exchange of words. Submerge is another card. When I put together the budget list, it was a little bit pricier card because it hasn't received a reprint in 1,000 years. But Ovika is pretty much a free-to-play card at 5 CNC. As long as you meet the requirements, then you're gonna like put a creature back to its owner's library, like set them back a turn, right? You're gonna Phoenix Wild Wing Blast them, and get 5 goblins. Like that's crazy. If they're sitting on like one creature, you're gonna set them back a turn, and then swarm them with 5 goblins in their mouth. And that chip damage, does add up. Whether you're playing the mid-range high power game or the low power game, it doesn't matter. This is a pile of cards that didn't quite make the cut in my list, but these are all like commons and uncommons, so and very, very cheaply costed, not cheaply cost to cast, but cheaply like costed monetary value cards, and very, very good inclusions in an Ovika list. We have Gush, and so this next pile of cards are like cards that are very, very high CMC, but practically free to play, and just overall really good value in this deck, because this is, again, Gush. Bounce 2 islands and draw 2 cards and create 5 goblins with haste. What more could be said? Frantic Search. Free to play practically, right? You're gonna untap up to 3 lands. The 3 lands used to pay for the Frantic Search. Maybe you get lucky, you're doing a High Tide turn, or you have Ancient Tomb, or some land that produces more than 1 mana. Create 3 goblins, draw, loot 2 cards. Really, really cool. Snap, same story, practically free to play. Decent piece of temporary removal. Into the Story, 5 blue, but it's practically what 5, 3, that's 2, yeah, 2 blue, to draw 4 cards at instant speed. So it's draw 4 cards, create 7 goblins. Give me a break. It's just really good value. Mog Salvage, same story. Nice piece of removal, as long as you meet the requirements, free to play. Oh, my son is crying in the background. Oh no. Foil is a common rarity card, and it's a force of will on a budget. It's really, really neat card in a deck with 2 colors. You know we're gonna have a bunch of islands, especially because we're playing Gush, especially because it's 2 colors. Very, very easy to create our mana base. We're on a budget mana base, so you're gonna have a lot of basic islands. Foil is a really, really nice at common rarity counterspell. And in Ovika, it's make 4 goblins. Now, earlier I said, if you're not going to close the game out with your Underworld Breach, we have some neat cards with stuff to do in your graveyard. These Delve cards, Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time. Dig Through Time, this is Japanese, it's a 6 blue instant. Look at the top 7, add the top 7 to your, not add to the top 7. Look through the top 7, add 2 to your hand, and put the rest back on the bottom of the deck in any order. Delve cards are really, really great, especially in a Ovika deck, because this practically is, blue, makes 8 tokens. tokens. This is a blue and make 8 tokens. Really, really good inclusions. Something to do with cards in your graveyard. Of course, with delve cards, it's best to pair them with cheaply costed cantrips like Ponder, Preordain, Brainstorm, Gitaxian Probe, Serum Visions, Opt, things like that. You use them, you lose them, and then they'll pay for the delve cost later. And it's as simple as that, baby. Let's get back to the main deck. Our removal, we have Resculpt, Abrade, Pongify, Rapid Hybridization, Delayed Blast Fireball. Pick this up while it's still cheaply costed. I think it's like $10, so it's already starting to creep up there. A really, really nice one-sided board wipe. Doesn't do anything against your opponent's Drannith Magistrate, but very, very good card overall. Chain of Vapor. Chain of Vapor is okay removal for a deck like this where I just need to clear the board for the turn. I'm ready to go off. It's really great. The way I like to play Chain of Vapor, if there's 2 permanents, non-land permanents that I need to get rid of before I go off, if you're good at reading opponents, do this to the salty player, because the salty player is going to turn the table and bounce back your fucking whatever, Ovika, right? And then, no, they'll have to pay. Oh my god, they're going to pay a land, 3, and 3 mana, and 3 light. Okay. So, you target the salty, butthurt player, the guy who's always whining about everything. They're going to turn the table, they're going to use the Chain of Vapor back on you, and then you're just going to use the Chain of Vapor on the opponent that you need to remove the second piece of, the second non-land permanent before you go off. Really, really strong card. March of Swirling Mist. Very, very nice, versatile card. It does 2 things, really. It either protects your board state, right? All the creatures you want to protect, your boss monster, from a board wipe or spot removal. Or it removes all the annoying hate bearers that you need to get rid of the turn you're ready to go off. So very, very neat, versatile card. Pick up your copy of March of Swirling Mist. Cyclonic Rift, there's not much we can say about Cyclonic Rift that hasn't been said already. The strongest blue card in the game, in the format. In the case of Ovika, that's 7 goblins. Let's look at our counter magic and our soft counter magic. We have a Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, Deflecting Swat, Misdirection. Misdirection, so strong. Such a strong card. When they want to overextend, when your opponent wants to overextend to try to get rid of the Ovika, you misdirect it, target their whatever, target someone else's whatever, and make 5 goblins. Misdirection, in general, is just a really, really strong card when you're not in Ad Nauseam. When I'm not in Ad Nauseam, I really, really like Misdirection as a soft counter. A lot of people are on Mindbreak Trap. I don't like Mindbreak Trap. It's here right now in early 2023. It's still a very Staxy meta. It's at regular CEDH tables at your local game store. It's still like rule of all this, rule of all that, rule of all this. And so I don't see an opponent playing 1, 2, 3 cards in that tournament. I don't see it happening. So they could sit with the Mindbreak Trap in their hand for the whole match. But it's not for me. But I like Misdirection. Mental Misstep, Fluster Storm, Dispel, An Offer You Can't Refuse, Swan Song, Mana Drain. Mana Drain is very, very strong in this deck. Maybe you get lucky, you catch something that's 3 or 4 CMC, and you use that CMC, use that mana to help cast the Ovika. Now we're all guilty of this with Mana Drain. Put like a counter on the top of your deck so that you remember to use that mana. Don't let it fizzle away. I'm sure we've all made that mistake. Fierce Guardianship, Force of Negation, Pact of Negation, and Force of Will. Now, on the budget alternative list, there is some, not the most optimized counter magic, but there is a lot of counter magic that's available on a budget, and so be sure to check that out. Our tutors package, we have a Gamble, Mystical Tutor, Merchant Scroll, Muddle the Mixture. We're primarily using the Muddle the Mixture not as a counterspell, but to tutor up our Dramatic Reversal or Isochron Scepter. The same thing with the Merchant Scroll. I don't particularly like Merchant Scroll in my deck. It's not an auto include in every deck. Some people still under that assumption, but in my deck, it can get me Force, Pact of Negation, a Cyclonic Rift in an emergency. It's very easily forecast at that point. Dramatic Reversal, and then we'll see later High Tide. So our rituals, we have Rite of Flame, Seething Song. Now this is just to help really speed up casting Ovika. The sooner you can cast Ovika, the better position you'll be in overall. So there's that. Same thing with Infernal Plunge. It would be nice to sack a floater to help pay for the Ovika. It's unlikely, so in that case, this Infernal Plunge most likely will be used to sack a goblin, a Phyrexian goblin, to pay for a Tidespout Tyrant or a Hullbreaker Horror. High Tide, there are enough islands in this deck. Actually, there's 6 islands in this deck. 6, and then a volcanic island and a steam vents. I don't know if that island count is enough to make it worth a slot. That's something I will keep an eye on. If that's the case, then I'll just add like a Gush or something back to the deck, or Frantic Search. But yeah, so I don't know if the High Tide in this build is that strong. And then finally, Jessica's Will for our rituals. Our wheels, keeping it simple, we have a Windfall, a Wheel of Fortune, and a Time Twister. Time Twister, not quite the same, but still, if you're able to just dump your hand and refill it, you're fine. A lot of people are off wheels, especially in a mid-range strategy. And that's another thing I'll keep an eye on. But when I'm in Underworld Breach, I still like the Wheel of Fortune. So, yeah. Our ritual creatures, we have Dockside Extortionist. I'm not interested in upgrading to Etched Dockside. Dockside is always up for debate whether or not he should be banned. And if that happened, Dockside has like no resale value outside of Commander. So I would hate to be stuck with a Dockside Extortionist. An Etched Foil Dockside Extortionist. Blank Goblin is a really, really nice card, especially to help cast that initial Ovika. There's a high probability that it will be a 4, 5, maybe 6 CMC on ETB. I'll show you the optimal blank goblin build sticker deck in just a moment. Phantasmal Image has a chance to copy these, has a chance to copy an opponent's Dockside, playing mid-range strategy, so it has a chance to just copy a juicy value creature from your opponent. There's a lot of stuff to be done with a Phantasmal Image, especially in a mid-game strategy. So I like Phantasmal Image. Simian Spirit Guide. Skirk Prospector, in the same vein that maybe High Tide might not be strong enough in this deck. Same thing with Skirk. I could sack all those floater goblins to help cast Tidespout or a Hullbreaker. So there's that. Ragavan. Ragavan, you want to land early. If you land him after like turn 4, he's not of much use. Professional Facebreaker. Swinging off a lot of goblins, boys and girls. So, professional Facebreaker gets a lot of value in these beater strategies. Same thing with Grazilax. Very, very strong cards. A lot of people sleep on Grazilax. They don't even know what this is. He has like cool combat tricks built in. If they attempt to block my dockside, then I don't know, they're eating lead chip cereal or something. Bounce it back to my hand, recast it. Ledger Shredder, very strong card. Gilded Drake, very, very strong card. Malevolent Hermit is a amazing card, and it's really strong in this particular deck because we don't care so much about the front side, but we do care about its back side. And non-creature spells you control can't be countered. And so what you're going to do is your Dramatic Scepter combos, it's uncounterable, right? The copies, non-creature, can't be stopped. Your Tidespout, Tyrant, Hullbreaker, you're going to first do the loop to start clearing out their board, but since these are non-creature spells, they can't do anything about it. They could just watch it happen. Let's quickly look at the optimal sticker deck. And so this sticker deck will have every high val count sticker available. The thing is, there are only 14, and so number 15 will just be 3 val count. So we have Gelatinous, Phyrexian, Unsanctioned, Dinosaur, Delusionary, Minotaur, Narrow-Minded, and Baloney, Guacamole, Misunderstood, and then finally for the memes we have Mind, Goblin, these things. Let's go on to the rest of the deck. So we have Aristic Seti, auto-include, Mystical Remora, auto-include in a blue deck. Our rocks, we have a Lotus Petal, Jeweled Lotus, Lion's Eye Diamond. We have Arkham's Astrolabe. So when I'm in these low colored decks that aren't in black, because Tainted Pact is a card, I like to abuse snow lands. A lot of people, I guess, have favorite art basic lands or some goofy shit like that. But I think if you have a lot of basics in your deck, you should make them snow. There are a lot more things you could do with snow than you could with a basic. Yeah. And this also helps me with my Underworld, my Hullbreaker loops as well. And we'll draw a card every ETB, which will filter through my deck. Springleaf Drum, really good in this deck, and it's very nice during my Hullbreaker loops because we'll tap those goblins that we make from our non-creature spells and do things from there, help to clear out the board. Notable exclusion from this deck is is it Signet? I don't think those old school Signets are very good anymore. I don't think they're good at all. And you have to remember, throughout the years, we got so many better cards. We got Arcane Signet. We got Jeweled Lotus, right? So those cards just push out the old school Signets. Even in a 2-color deck, you're like, oh, is it Signet? That's auto include, right? No, I don't think it's good. I don't think they're good at all. In my Dimir deck, in my Simic deck, right? I don't play them. I don't think they're good anymore. Hot take. Talisman of Creativity, Arcane Signet, Fellwar Stone, Chrome Mox, Mox Opal, Mox Diamond, Grim Monolith, Mana Vault, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, a lot of mana positive, mana neutral rocks that are great to drop a quick Dramatic Scepter, Isochron Scepter, Dramatic Reversal combos, and Hullbreaker loops. Wrapping things up, let's look at our lands. We have all 8 fetches, I think. Yeah, okay. Prismatic Vista. We have 6 snow-covered islands. I used to have 8 snow-covered islands, but I made some changes to the deck last minute, as we'll see. We have just one mountain. I don't really care for the mountains, and like, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen to me? Like, I get blood mooned, then boom, like that's my mountain. Easy peasy. We have, of course, our steam vents and a volcanic island. We have the Firely Islet Training Center and a Shivan Reef. To go fast Berber, we have Ancient Tomb. City of Traders is one card that I took out for one island I took out for this. Mouth of Ronam is another reason why I like snowlands over regular plain basics. You could punch a Draenith Magistrate, for instance, in its fucking mouth, and you're Gucci. Cephalid Coliseum is another land I took out. I took an island out in exchange for. Now the Coliseum is really, really cool. Those Thoracle players, if you keep them on the edge of their seat, you know, a lot of times they misplay and they don't realize that you have a Coliseum on your board, and then they misplay. They try to go for the win. You're like, no, stupid. You're gonna draw your deck out. You stupid idiot. Don't you see the Cephalid Coliseum? Didn't you notice? Every time I tapped it, I took a life. What did you think that was? Barbarian Ring, another neat card I'm playing around with. I always keep it in my shoebox. Just another card that could potentially get rid of something annoying. Atawada, bounce, uncounterable bounce spell practically. Gemstone Cavern, and a command tower. And there you have it. You have Ovika, the stealth bomber in 2023. High power, fully optimized deck tech for you all. Thank you very much, and ta-ta.